But just a quick introduction. I am Jen Wagoner, and I am the wholesaler that supports Care Solutions here at One America. I've been with the company for 6 years, and prior to coming over to the kind of career agency side with One America, I was actually supporting Care Solutions and wholesaling to all of our IMOs and FMOs and BGAs. So I'm happy to be here. My official title is actually Regional Sales Director. And so I've kind of got, my territory is kind of, I would say, west of the Rockies. So supporting the general agencies that are west of the Rockies. I know you guys are all over, so anytime you need me, reach out to me. I support everyone that falls under Yankel's team. So today, what I really wanted to talk about and just give more of a really quick high-level overview of for those of you that are in California, this is really going to affect you guys. And then I want to share with you some other states, depending on where all of you support your clients. It may affect your clients in those states in the near future as well. And then I want to get into some real high level tax some tax sales ideas with our Care Solutions products. So today I didn't want to go too deep into our products just because there's just a lot of moving parts with our Care Solutions product, and I want you guys to take advantage of myself as well as my internal wholesaler to kind of support you through any questions that you have pertaining to our products, and then any cases that you have, run it through me, because otherwise I feel like if we go too deep into the Care Solutions product before you guys get a good feel of what our products can do, it can get really overwhelming. So Yankel, I can share my screen. Is that correct?
Yeah, you should be able to, but let me know if it doesn't work.
Excellent. Okay, let's try this here. Can everybody see my screen? Perfect. All right. So I kind of want to start off with what the state of Washington did in 2021, implementing a state-funded long-term care program, and how it really affected all these other states that are kind of following and mirroring and watching what Washington did. So I want to keep this pretty informal as well. So feel free, if you guys have questions, take yourself off mute if that's okay, Yankel. Take yourself off mute. Go ahead and stop me and ask your questions, because if you're thinking it, I guarantee you your other peers on your team are thinking the same question as well. So, all right, so we'll get started here. So just high level, in 2021, what did Washington produce? They created this state-funded long-term care program. And what this program was supposed to do is to provide a long-term care benefit to all of the employees that worked in the state of Washington. And I'm going to just highlight work in the state of Washington. So as long as you were employed in that state, then you would be eligible to tap into this program, the state-funded program for long-term care. And how you were going to be able to be eligible would be a tax. So the state of Washington would tax your payroll check. So if you were a W-2 employee, because the state of Washington did not have an income tax, as long as you had a W-2, receiving a W-2, you were going to get taxed 0.58%. So that means for every $100,000 you earn, you are going to pay $580 into this program every single year. Now, what would this program provide? It will provide you a lifetime maximum of $36,500 in long-term care benefits. That's it. That's your entire pool. That's supposed to last you for your entire lifetime. So to give you an idea of what the average cost of care in the state of Washington is, currently, it is almost $7,000 a month. So that $36,500 that Washington thinks is going to be this lifetime benefit pool for long-term care really isn't going to barely last 6 months. But they're trying to stretch this out, right? So they are also stating that although you get access to $36,500 as your entire long-term care pool, we will only allow you to get a maximum of $100 of benefit a day. So they're trying to stretch this and make this last 1 year. If your cost of care exceeds that $100 for that particular day, guess what? You're going to have to pay out of pocket. So why did Washington create this program? The whole point of this program is to mitigate the resources that were allocated through Medicaid paying long-term care expenses. So across the entire nation, across the country, Medicaid is the #1 payer for long-term care expenses. And not only the federal government, but every state realizes that this is a problem, that these resources for Medicaid were designed to pay out healthcare expenses for people that are very low income. So if you've got these resources and these funds being allocated for people that need healthcare coverage and are very low income and they cannot obtain their own health insurance, and now the funds are being primarily used to pay out long-term care expenses, it's a problem. It is a problem because long-term care expenses are very costly. So that's what Washington was trying to say. We need to alleviate this issue that we had in the state. So although their intentions were well-meaning, the execution was terrible. So they created a one-time opt-out period, which was November 1st of 2021. If you have your own private long-term care insurance policy that's showing that it's been issued prior to November 1st of 2021, then you get to opt out or be exempt from paying this 0.58% tax. So what does that do? I'm sorry, but we're all humans, right? When you hear, oh, I get to exempt from this tax and not have to pay this tax, I'm going to try and get myself out of it. So we had this huge influx of people in the state of Washington apply for their own private long-term care plan. Not because they're thinking, oh, I need to have a long-term care plan. They were doing it to avoid a tax. So what did they do? They went out to their agent and said, give me the bare minimum policy that I am allowed to get, just so I can get exempt from this tax. And that's what happened. And just between us, okay, long-term care insurance is not the sexiest of financial products that we sell. Am I right? It is not. So if I'm drawing out that sexy scale, we're like at the very end of the unsexy end of that scale. So we as insurance carriers, and I'm not talking about just One America, I'm talking about all long-term care insurance carriers. We only have so much staff with underwriting, only so much staff in our case management department. I mean, when you're not the sexiest of insurance, we're not going to staff that much, right? It's all about capacity. So we haven't, I would say on average, One America, we probably average about 75 to 100 applications a day. The last Friday, before we had to suspend business in the state of Washington, so we had to just halt applications altogether and say we're not accepting any more from the state of Washington, we got 3 months worth of applications in one day. So if you're thinking capacity, like if I wanted, my goodness, let's talk about eggs, right? We went through that eggs issue where eggs were so expensive because the chickens couldn't produce enough eggs. Can you imagine One America's long-term care division? Like we were over capacity. We could not handle that volume of applications coming into the company. And that's only in the state of Washington. I said, we got 3 months worth of applications coming in, and that primarily was Washington. We also service the rest of the country. You know, there's 48 other states that we're supporting as well. So it caused a lot of service issues. It caused a lot of delays, and clients were trying to get these policies issued before November 1st. And we suspended business in September of 2021. Okay, so those were some of the issues that came out of it. We got past it because we suspended business so we could catch up on the volume. And that kind of fast forward to January 1st of 2022. So January 1st of 2022 is when the tax was supposed to come out of the Washingtonians, the employees' paycheck. The governor had to suspend the tax coming out. The tax is slated to come out now, July of 2023. The reason why he suspended it, 3 lawsuits came out of the rollout of this program, because you had people that worked in the state of Washington that lived in neighboring states, so they were commuters coming in, but as long as your employment is in the state of Washington, you were going to get taxed, but you're not eligible for any of the benefits if you don't have your care in the state of Washington. So if you live in Idaho and you are fully vested into the program, and then later you want to activate the benefits, but you live in Idaho, guess what? You don't get access to that, what your tax has been paying into all those years, right? Same thing with, let's say you're military. You are contracted to be in that state, in the state of Washington, for just a few years, and your spouse, let's say your spouse is the one that's working, but then in a few years you're going to have to move somewhere else. Guess what? You paid the tax into that state, you don't get access to those benefits. So there are all these lawsuits that came out, and they put a halt to it so that they can try to revamp some of those issues, and then we'll resume taking the taxes out starting in July of this year. So now that's going to fast forward me here to what other states are looking to implement a similar program that Washington is rolling out. So you can see that there are 13 other states that are considering a similar program, but they don't want to make the same mistakes as Washington. So as you're looking at this map here, everything in orange are the other states that are considering following Washington's footsteps. So if you kind of fall near or in one of these states, and I say near because keep in mind, if your client is working in one of these states, even though they don't live in that state, they're going to get taxed. So that takes me to AB 567. This is Assembly Bill 567 for the state of California, which is where I reside, where Yanko resides, and maybe some of you reside as well. So what's coming to California? California's got a task force in place currently, a long-term care task force that legislation kind of put together, and they recruited a bunch of industry experts to be part of this task force to come up with a program that would work for the state of California. And why they're putting so much time and effort in this task force is surely the size of the state of California. And anything that comes out of California, a lot of times other states seem to kind of like pay attention to what California is doing. So give you an idea of why this is such a big deal for the state of California. Washington, although they were the first state to implement a state-funded program, their total population was little over 7 million people in that state. California's population is actually a little over 39 million. So just a little bit more than the state of Washington. This is why all eyes are on California currently. So what are they looking at? They're looking at something similar to Washington. They want to mirror it to what the federal government would consider a true long-term care event. So what is a true long-term care event? By definition, according to our government. The federal government deems that you have a long-term care event if you are unable to perform 2 out of 6 activities of daily living or have a severe cognitive impairment. So that's kind of the definition that the government basically has put in place to say you have a long-term care event. As long as these things occur and your doctor stating that it's going to last more than 90 days, this is a long-term care event. So they put those parameters in place, which differs from Washington. The other thing that they're considering is they want to make it portable outside of California. What does that mean, portable outside of California? I told you for Washington, one of the lawsuits that came out of the state of Washington when they rolled out this program is that you had to have your care in that state, right? So we can't predict the future. Can you predict the future of where you're going to be when you're 70 years old, when you're 80 years old? I mean, for me, my children are really young right now, right? But later on, when they go off to college and then they meet their spouse, they get married, they may not live here in California. They may move clear across the opposite end of the country. And then when my husband and I retire, you never know, one of my kids might say, hey, mom, dad, can you come live with us and help take care of your grandchildren? That's a possibility, right? So if I move out of the state of California, what California is saying that the program that you've paid into, all the taxes you've paid into, you can take it with you. You can use the benefits in another state. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal for you to be able to say, no matter what state I'm in, I have access to some of my benefits that I've paid into. So that's one of the things that California is looking at. The other thing they're looking at is, unlike Washington, they were taxing 0.58% on your payroll, on your W-2. It's coming out of your paycheck, however often you get paid. California is saying, hey, we might do a split contribution. So that way it doesn't seem like you're getting taxed that much, right? It's kind of all about perception. So if we do a split contribution, your employer will pay a certain percentage, and then you would pay a certain percentage. So that's what they're considering as well. Now, I shared with you, Washington gave a one-time opt-out period where if you have your own and you obtain your own private long-term care program or policy, you can be exempt from paying the tax. So California doesn't want to create this purchasing frenzy that Washington did, right? They don't want to see carriers pull out from the state either and suspend business. They don't want that to happen either. That's bad business for the state, right? So what they're considering is, in order to opt out of the tax, to be exempt from paying whatever the tax percentage rate that they're considering here, then you need to obtain your own private long-term care policy by January 1st, 1 year prior to the bill going into effect. So let me clarify that. I'm going to put some dates so that it makes a little bit more sense. So if, and based off of, I've been following this California task force and what they're trying to roll out pretty closely for the last couple of years now. So what they're looking to do is, if the governor signs off on the bill and it becomes effective, and I'm assuming based off of all the timelines I'm reading, it's going to be in 2025. So let's assume that it passes and becomes effective April of 2025. Okay, so April 2025, the bill's effective. That means your client needs to have their own private long-term care policy January 1st of 2024. Does that make sense? So that's 1 year prior, but it has to be the January 1st of that year prior. So although the bill is effective 2025 of April, that would bring you to April of 2024, 1 year later, but it has to be January 1st. So then we bump it up to January 1st, 2024. So what does that mean? 2023 is the year, right? This is the year we need to educate our clients in the state of California to let them know what is happening and what's coming. Otherwise, let's talk about the 5 programs that California is considering. There are 5 different programs that the feasibility report was due the end of 2023. So December of, or 2022. So December 2022, they had to supply a feasibility report to the governor, to the Department of Insurance, to the commissioner, and legislation. All 3 bodies received the feasibility report the end of last year. So
we have a question from Elaine.
Yes. Oh, Elaine, you're still on mute.
Okay, just for the sake of clarity regarding this tax.
Yeah.
Is this tax an automatic thing that everyone pays? Let's say they can opt out. I get that part. So that means that everyone else who is not opted out will have to pay this tax, whether they decide, let's say, after the opt-out period to buy long-term care insurance or not, private long-term care insurance.
That's an excellent question. So I'm going to clarify that really quick. So part of the opting out, right? You can be fully exempt if you get your own long-term care plan prior, 1 year prior and January 1st of the year prior of when the policy is effective. Now, who are they looking to tax? California. And for those of you that live in California or familiar with California's government, they really want to get as many participants as possible. What I mean by that is they want to get as many people paying into this tax as possible, right? Unlike Washington kind of just had a smaller segment. People that were W-2'd were the ones that would get taxed. So California is considering not just W-2 employees, they're also considering anyone that's receiving an income on their taxes. If you are receiving income on your taxes and your taxes reflect that, you're going to get taxed. So here's the age limit, okay? Minimum is 18. So if you're still in high school and you're working and you're getting a W-2, right? Because you're working for Dairy Queen or something like that, you're not going to get taxed because you're under the age of 18. So over 18, and then the maximum age, there's no maximum age. There's no maximum age. So what does that mean? That means if you are in your 70s, in your 80s, and you are reflecting on your taxes that you've got an income coming in, you're getting taxed. So that's one way as far as like who's getting taxed. How are you going to get exempt? The second way, so the second part to your question, Elaine, is, well, what if it's 2025 and let's say the bill's already effective. So we did not get our own policy prior to the bill being effective. So what happens once the bill rolls out? Am I just SOL? So in the state of Washington, yes, you were SOL, right? So if you missed that opt-out period of November 1st of 2021, after that, everyone else that decides to get their own private plan after November 1st of 2021, you're going to still pay the tax and you're paying the premium for your long-term care insurance plan. So in California, they're saying, and this is where I feel like California is trying to do the right thing and partner up with insurance companies, right? California realizes that there is a long-term care issue here in this state, and not just in the state, across the country, we have a long-term care issue. The long-term care costs and expenses are really, really high. And the misconception is that my insurance is going to pay for it. Medicare is going to pay for it. Well, Medicare does not pay for long-term care. Okay, so they pay for hospital stays up to so many days, but they do not pay for long-term care expenses. Where do most long-term care begin? It begins at home. Most people prefer to stay in their home. They'd rather have a nurse or a caretaker come into the home and assist them, take their vitals, or help them, assist them with bathing and eating and whatever else, blood draws. They want to do it at home because at home is where they're comfortable. It's where they're most familiar. Their family can come and visit them. So that's where a lot of it happens. Well, Medicare doesn't pay for that. Your insurance, your medical insurance does not pay for that. So there's this gap of expenses when it comes to health, right? In this long-term care realm. And that's where we're having these government policies that are trying to step in to mitigate some of these issues. So now with that being said, California is saying, okay, so we want to partner with long-term care insurance companies. So if we roll out this program and the bill becomes effective, let's say hypothetically in 2025, and you get a policy, your own private policy after the fact, we're not going to fully exempt you from the tax, but what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the amount of tax that we tax you. Does that make sense, Elaine?
Yes. Yes.
So in the future, to still encourage people to purchase their own private long-term care plan, because it's going to be a lot more robust, right? If you purchase your own private plan, it's going to be more robust and you have control over the amount of benefits that you're purchasing. So they want to say, we're going to reduce the amount of tax, almost like a perk, I guess, a perk or an incentive for you to go out and get your own private plan. So back to the 5 options. So California is considering 5 different options. So the feasibility report came out with the 5 options. And then the end of this year, they are going to narrow it down to 1. Which one of these options out of the 5 is going to look most preferable that they can roll out and not have too many issues? They're hoping for bipartisan agreement on choosing which one of these options will be viable.
Quick question, Jen. Sorry to interrupt you. Quick question.
Yeah.
Have they decided yet, or do you have an idea of the kind of product that will qualify for this? And this is what I mean, because you have a 30-year-old, right? Well, the last thing they're thinking about is long-term care, but they'll have to pay the tax, and they'll probably want to do that because they are the healthier, so you want more people in the pool, right?
Absolutely.
So if they own, let's say, a life insurance with a chronic illness rider or something like that qualify as quasi long-term care, or does it have to be an actual, long-term care like the ones that you have or the one they can buy on the marketplace?
So great question. Right now, they're still figuring out which types of plans will be allowed for the exemption. Okay. We're right now, based off of other bills that I'm reading across the state, including Washington. So Washington's kind of like the main state that they're mirroring off of. And then other states are considering from there what they should do. The state of Washington, it's a 7702B policy, meaning the IRS recognizes the policy to be a qualified long-term care plan. So as long as the policy itself is eligible for tax deduction according to the IRS, so they have an IRC code 7702B, then that policy is good to go. Other bills that I've read in other states, same thing. They're saying it has to be a 7702B policy. California is keeping it slightly vague, other than saying, yes, 7702B for sure, but we want to take a look at everything. I am life insurance with a chronic illness rider, life insurance with a a critical illness rider that is not 7702B, meaning the IRS recognizes them as IRC code 101G. Those are not eligible in the state of Washington and in many of the other states. I wouldn't be surprised for California to come out and say that if it's not a 7702B, it's not eligible. So to be on the safe side right now, because we don't know what we don't know, as long as you are offering your clients a 7702B policy, which means it has to be federally recognized as a qualified long-term care insurance policy, then you're good to go. You can be assured, and your clients can be assured, they will be able to get that exemption.
So my assumption will be that the asset care product is recognized, but the riders on the American United Life product are not 7702B.
Right. So if you're looking at, I'll give you an example because I had this argument just recently. Prudential's policy, Prudential's life insurance policy with the bar rider. If you guys are familiar with the bar rider with Prudential life insurance policies, the bar rider, they've been trained, right? Prudential agents have been trained by their wholesaler that the bar rider is a long-term care rider. It is not a long-term care rider. It is a chronic illness rider that they have been taught to sell as a long-term care rider. So those are not eligible. All of our care solutions products at One America, whether it is using a whole life chassis or an annuity chassis, has been filed as a 7702B policy. So either one of those policies that you sell with One America will be eligible for an exemption.
Okay, and not to get ahead of myself, maybe you're going to cover this, but what kind of design or product will that younger person need to have to avoid this, right?
Yep.
Obviously, the older person will understand that, but again, that 28-year-old, 32-year-old, what will they need to have to avoid this based on what you read and based on what you know so far?
So far, based off of other bills across the state and the state of Washington, California has not defined it yet because everything is still being worked out, but off of Washington, off of other states' bill, as long as the minimum mirrors whatever that state's program benefit is, that will be the minimum for your own private plan to be eligible for the exemption. So let me go through the 5 options, or not the 5 options, but just a couple of options that I think that California is looking at to give you an example of, let's say, that 25-year-old, that 30-year-old, that 35-year-old, what their minimum policy requirement would need to be in order to get that exemption. So one of the options, and I have in front of you option 3, because I told you there were 5. The first 2, I don't think that it's going to even make it to the floor for voting. Option 3 is the one that mirrors closely to the state of Washington. So we're looking at a total lifetime pool maximum benefit of $36,000. That's it. And California's cost of care is way more expensive than Washington. So I don't know why $36,000 is even an option on here. They are considering in this particular program design a contribution cap. So what does that mean? So the estimated payroll tax range is anywhere between 0.4 and 0.6%. They haven't narrowed down what percentage rate they want to assess the income or payroll yet for $36,000 in lifetime benefit, but somewhere in that range, which mirrors closely to Washington. Washington was 0.58. So the contribution cap, the way it's going to come in is saying that if you are a higher income earner, if you're the guy that's making like $500,000 a year, once you hit your threshold of the taxes that have already been collected for that year, then they'll just stop. You've hit your contribution cap, we'll stop, similar to Social Security. And then for the rest of the year, you're not going to see that tax come out of your paycheck. That's this option here for option 3. If we look at option 4, which is the other option, I think that a lot of the task force members voted on, saying that either option 4 or potentially option 5, which option 5 I don't have on here. It's a maximum benefit of $144,000. So that's option 5. That's the highest amount that they're considering as a lifetime pool is $144,000. This, what I have in front of you, is showing a maximum of $81,000. With this particular option, if you look at the very bottom under financing, that first bullet point, notice it says no contribution cap. So let's go back to that example I shared earlier. It doesn't matter if you're making $30,000 a year or you're making $500,000 a year. Your higher income earner is going to be paying a lot more taxes to fund this particular program than someone that's making $30,000. So your higher income earners are kind of the ones that are the more fluent are probably your clientele basis, right? The ones that are middle class and upper are the ones that you're probably wanting to educate them to let them know about these long-term care programs that are coming into the state. So if you're making $500,000 a year, there's no contribution cap. That just means you're going to keep paying and you're going to be the primary funder of this program to only get a maximum benefit of $81,000 for your entire lifetime. I'm sorry, that's not enough, because the average cost of care in California is over $7,000 a month. And that's average across the state. I can tell you pockets in like LA County, in the Bay Area, for example, home care. I'm not talking about assisted living facilities or nursing homes. I'm talking about at home, just starting in the house that you own that you're already paying for, right? So you're not, that's the cost of care in addition to what you're already paying for your living expenses at home. They're averaging about $22,000 a month for at-home care in LA County and Bay Area. So the state's average is over $7,000, but depending on where you live within that state, it could be a lot more. And this $81,000 is not enough. Even the $144,000, which is the 5th option I don't have listed in a PowerPoint slide, is not enough in this state. So back to the tax. If you look under financing, I don't have a tax range on there. Why do I not have a tax range? California hasn't issued a tax range. So for $36,000, if you look at the bottom of this slide, this is option 3, $36,000 in maximum benefit. We know that the estimated tax range is between 0.4 and 0.6%. This is the $81,000. My best guess is going to be higher than 0.6%. It's probably going to be doubled in tax. So can you imagine if we double it, double the 0.6, now we're looking at 1.2%. So now if you're making $100,000, now what are we looking at? $1,200 a year in taxes that you're paying for on just $81,000 of total benefit pool. And you have to be vested 10 years before you get full access to this $81,000. Granted, they're saying we're going to prorate it. So if you have 5 years left before you retire, you've paid the tax for 5 years and then retire and then later on need care, then you get 50% of that $81,000. So that's California. So
one last question here on this, Jen, since we're going into the weeds of this. So are insurance companies positioning this as, okay, you're going to have to pay the tax, and then our benefit is going to be kind of like, almost like asset care after you get your money from the state? Or are they going to be positioning this as a way to help you avoid having to pay the tax, or maybe a combination of those two things?
So it's hard to say right now, right? Because as insurance carriers, not just One America, but other insurance carriers in the long-term care space are kind of watching what's going on. They don't want to duplicate what happened in the state of Washington, because eventually all the carriers that practice long-term care insurance pulled out of the state of Washington. They don't want to do that, but they will if they have to, because they cannot put a strain on business for all the other states, right? Because you still have to service all your clients that are applying, not to avoid a tax, right? They're legitimate long-term care planning. So they're watching like California, knowing that California is looking to kind of retro when who gets to be exempt. They're retroing it back January 1st of 1 year prior of the bill being effective. That takes a lot of the heat off of insurance carriers. So with California, if they continue to keep that as their opt-out policy, that allows insurance carriers to stay in the state. So we'll continue doing business in the state. Now, what we don't want to see, this is what happened in Washington. What we don't want to see is people just applying the bare minimum to avoid a tax. They want agents to have a legitimate conversation, long-term care planning conversation, and educating their clients about long-term care, because California is looking to do a recertification, possibly every single year. So that means they want to make sure that your policy, if you obtain your own private plan, you need to show that it's still in force every single year to exempt from the tax or get the discounted tax rate. Did that answer the question, Yanko?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, no, it didn't answer the question. So the companies want to actually sell you the amount that you need instead of just using it as a way just for you to avoid it.
Right. And here's the danger, right? If you are the agent that's just selling a policy to avoid the tax, the danger is the chargeback, right? So with One America, we're going to charge back your full commission within the first year of cancellation of the policy. By the second year of the cancellation of the policy, it's 50% of the commission that we paid out. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see chargebacks to occur. We don't want bad business where someone's getting a policy just to avoid the tax and then canceling the policy later. So what happened in Washington, granted, we didn't see that many cancellations yet because they pushed the payroll tax to come out of the payroll July of this year, but you still have to show proof that you had your own private plan prior to November 1st of 2021. So that gave us a couple of years. That was kind of like the saving grace for a lot of agents of not getting a chargeback, because it's like 2 years later before the tax is even coming out. But with that being said, one of the things that happened with that deadline that Washington put, it caused all the like Washingtonians that were looking to get a private plan beating down their agent's door, saying, I need to get on your calendar. I need to schedule an appointment with you to get this policy just so I can avoid a tax. Well, we had agents that were working already at like 70 hours a week. They were already at capacity with their own workload, and majority of their appointments on the books were junk, right? Junk in the sense that either A, they were bare minimum policies that barely paid them anything. Clients were just looking to get like the cheapest policy possible, but it ate up the agent's time. And the customers that were like, okay, I'm going to buy a legitimate policy, couldn't get an appointment with them. So what did they do? We saw an influx during that time of brand new appointments to One America, new contracts coming to One America. And guess where they were coming from? They were coming from CPAs and attorneys. So these CPAs and attorneys were advising their higher net worth clients to go out and get their own long-term care plans, a good one, right? And they're advising them appropriately. They can't meet up with their agent because their agent has a whole bunch of junk appointments on the books, right? So the CPA and the attorneys were getting contracted with One America, and they were selling the policy to them. That's money out of those agents' pockets. Right. That is what they don't want to happen again. So with California, we've got that time. If we know that 2023 is the year, we want to be educating our clients appropriately now. We want to do the right type of long-term care planning and had that conversation with them, especially if you guys are already advising your clients with managing their money, right? So we can figure out, okay, this is the potential tax for this amount of benefit. Wouldn't it make more sense if you got your own long-term care plan, and a good one that's not going to run out on you? Seiko, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, I have a question. I have a lot of clients who is green card holder.
Mm-hmm.
So those people needs to pay, but they're not sure which state, even like a country they're gonna retire.
Yeah.
So in this case, the One America policy will cover the costing outside of the United States.
So number one, I'm going to address the green card. If they have a green card, then we will be able to write them. So that's okay. To address the second issue that you brought up is international coverage. If they decide to leave the United States, for example, One America does have international coverage, limited international coverage, as long as the country at the time that they go on care isn't sanctioned by the US.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah.
So, and I can't tell you what countries that is by the time they go on claim, because we don't know what would happen.
Yeah, geopolitical issues kind of hard to determine, but yeah, like a Russia, the Myanmar.
You got it. So
Yeah.
when I say limited benefits, it's going to be based off of the base policy itself. So we'll go into that a little bit more like in a couple slides, I'll show you that. But just the base policy only will be the limited portion that would be paid out for long-term care overseas. The goal with all of our policies, the goal is if they are in another country and they need care in a facility, has to be in a facility, and the provider, the doctor in that country has to be able to certify that they have a long-term care event in English. Has to be in English. The goal is to bring them back to the United States so that they can finish out their care.
I see.
So that's what our policies are designed for. We have international coverage. It's limited, but the goal is always to bring them back to the United States to finish out their care.
Got it. Thank you.
New York is one. I'm not going to go into details. New York is one. So even though One America is not approved to do business in the state of New York, keep in mind that if you've got commuters, clients that live in New Jersey or Connecticut and commute to New York for work, they're going to get taxed. This is a client that you want to have a conversation with as well. Pennsylvania, also another state that's looking to consider their own long-term care program. So now that takes me to Care Solutions and our One America product. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. Again, ask questions on parts that you don't understand, but I want to show you how powerful our Care Solutions product look. And this is only a small handful of our products that I'm showing you, because honestly, there's about 100 ways that you can skin the cat with our Care Solutions product. So really, at the end of the day, what I'm about to share with you is a very small percentage of what you can offer your clients, but please reach out to me, reach out to my internal wholesaler, so that if you have a potential case, we want to take a look at it and help design it with you and explain our thought process as to why we're designing it the way we design it that's going to benefit your clients. So here's one, Asset Care. This is our single premium solution. So if you're in California, it's called Asset Care One. If you're outside of California, it's just called Asset Care Single Premium. I didn't come up with the titles for these, okay? So just roll with me. So the single premium, in this design here, we have a joint couple, 61 and 60. So I say joint. One America's Care Solutions product is the only long-term care hybrid product out in the marketplace that offers joint. Okay, and there's more too. So if you can see the gray arrow, it's unlimited. We are also the only hybrid carrier that offers unlimited benefits. So We offer joint, so 2 people on 1 policy, and we offer lifetime, giving them each the peace of mind that their long-term care pool will never run out. Okay, so those are the 2 things that's unique to One America. So
Question, Jen, sorry to interrupt you, but I think this is valuable for the agents. Why or what is the reason, based on what you know, that One America is really the only one out there providing this type of joint and lifetime benefits for clients versus all these other companies that are out there doing, LTC business?
yeah, so first of all, we had a patent on it. We had a patent on it, so other companies weren't allowed to duplicate what we had. Our patent expired in 2020. So only 2 years, 3 years ago, our patent finally ran out. So now we're hearing other carriers are looking to simulate the joint benefit. For the unlimited lifetime continuation of benefits rider, why we're the only one so far is other companies haven't figured out actuarially how to kind of price point the lifetime rider without risking their their ledger, right? Kind of their financial. So we've been doing this since 1988. We've been around for a long time. The only other company that has as long of a claims history and product history in the hybrid long-term care space is Lincoln MoneyGuard. So every other carrier came out after Lincoln and came out after One America. So when we price this out, we're not the cheapest. I'm going to throw it out there right now. One America is not the cheapest. We never have been. We priced our products appropriately so that we can continue to stay financially stable. Because at the end of the day, we want to not go under for the clients. We want to be able to be present and pay out claims. That's the goal of why we are doing what we're doing, is to pay out claims for the clients. So if we price it too low, or don't price it correctly, we've seen a lot of companies go under.
I think it's important. Yeah, it's important for you guys that are new, less than 2 years in the business. I've been here for 15 years, and I already saw at least 5 of them either remove the products, or them having to sell that book of business, or just having to decrease benefits and see lawsuits because of what Jen is saying. So this is a real thing. So just letting you know.
Absolutely. And the most recent insurance company that we've hired a lot of their personnel is Ohio National. So that's another example. If you guys are familiar with Ohio National and what happened. That's what's going on. But luckily, we're financially stable enough that we took on a lot of the employees, and thank goodness, because there's a lot of brilliant people that worked for Ohio National. Unfortunately, with bad decisions on pricing and things like that and product mixes, they didn't stay afloat. So why is joint? Again, remember, One America had a patent on this until 2020. So from 1988 until 2020, that's how long our patent was with this product. Why is that so important? Because we are able, we operate off of a second to die life insurance chassis, right? So we are sharing the same benefit pool between 2 people. When we do that, you're essentially insuring 2 lives for almost the price of 1. I don't know about you guys. I like a good deal. When you say 2 for 1, I'm on board with 2 for 1. So in this example here, you have a married couple, 61-year-old male, 60-year-old female, right around the typical age of probably some of your clients that are really seriously having the long-term care conversation with their families, and should be having it with you as well. In this particular example here, we're saying, I told you this is a single premium. We're putting a single premium into the base policy. So if you look across here, I don't know if you can see my arrow. If you look across, let me go back here. If you look across here, we call this the timeline, and this makes up the basis of all of our Care Solutions product. this first dark blue box that you see here is made up of a life insurance policy. If it's an annuity, which we have our annuity care policy, instead of life insurance, it's going to be an annuity itself that would make up the base policy. So this example, it's a life insurance policy. This couple puts in $100,000 to pay up as a single premium. They're paying up the life insurance component of the policy, and that immediately provides them a death benefit of $245,000. We're going to accelerate this death benefit, this $245,000, as a living benefit for long-term care. And we're accelerating it at a rate of 3%. So if you took 3%, multiply it by that $245,000 death benefit, this is how we were able to compute that the monthly benefit, the maximum monthly benefit per person, because remember, this is joint, per person is over $7,300 a month in benefit. Okay, so if both of them happens to go on claim at the same time, husband and wife, at the same time, we're paying out almost $15,000 in benefit out of this benefit pool, out of this initial benefit pool of $245,000. So they put $100,000 in. They're going to get a death benefit of $245,000 that we're accelerating as a living benefit for long-term care, which is generating $7,300 a month in benefit. Now we're going to add the lifetime rider. Why does it say unlimited, and why is it reflecting an arrow? So the death benefit is finite. That's why it's a block. There's an end point. That $245,000, once they use that up, that's the entirety of their pool. The unlimited pool here, why it's an arrow? Because it's not finite, it's infinite. It keeps on paying out as long as they still need care and we are able to pay out expenses, we will. So this, how we designed this, we're doing it as an out-of-pocket monthly premium of $385, in addition to that $100,000 single premium that they put in. Okay, by doing it this way, they have a little bit more control over their premium as an addition for cash flow purposes and also for tax purposes. And I'm going to show you the tax purpose in just a minute. But this is for $385 a month in premium. We are paying out the $7,300 per person for the rest of their lives, for each of their lives. So they have the peace of mind that this pool will never run out. I mentioned tax. Why is there a tax benefit? So let me go back here. This arrow part, because there's two parts to our policy, and always keep that in mind. There's two parts to the policy. This extension of benefits, we call it here at One America, the continuation of benefits rider. Okay, so continuation of benefits rider, we shorten it because, you know, we're in the financial industry. We always love acronyms. We have to shorten everything. So we call it the COB rider. So COB rider. So here's an example. I'm a visual person. I like to use examples to help make things make sense, right? So here's that couple I was telling you about, Bill and Sue. They're 61 and 60 years old. They happen to own their own company. They own a small auto body shop. They've got two little boys, they're not little, they're older. They're like grown men. Two men that are their sons that will be eventually taking over this business. They've been doing pretty well with their business. The business is set up as an S corporation. I know you guys probably have a lot of business owners in your book of business. So this particular one's a S corporation. I told you they're 60 and 61. Why does this mean anything? According to the IRS in 2023, the maximum amount that they can deduct for long-term care insurance premium will be based on their age. So if it's an S corporation, they don't need to meet the 7.5% AGI plus itemize their deductions. If they're an S corporation, according to their age, this is the maximum amount that they're eligible to deduct. So for the wife, she can deduct $1,790 in 2023. The husband, because he's 61, just that 1 year difference from 60 to 61, you can see that maximum deduction amount just exponentially gets larger. The husband gets to deduct $4,770. Because this is a joint policy, we add those two together. The maximum that they can deduct for 2023 on insurance premiums is $6,560. So keep in mind, I said this is for just the continuation of benefits rider. So the $100,000 went into the life insurance premium. That portion is not eligible for deduction. Remember the $385 a month? Well, that equates to $4,495 of an annual premium. So once we annualize it, you see that it's less than the $6,560 that they can deduct, which means they can deduct this full amount off of the S corporation. This is a big deal, right? Especially for small business owners. So that's one way that we can look at considering and talking to your business owners that have a long-term care need, that they need to think about this so that they don't get affected by the tax mandate that may be coming. Here's another one. Let's say you don't have a client that owns a business. What about the high income earners that get W-2? Their company offers them an HSA account. Let me talk about HSA really quick. Why I love HSA accounts. HSA accounts, how does the money go into the HSA account? It goes in pre-tax. And when the money comes out of an HSA account for a qualified expense, it comes out tax-free. Yeah, that money's never been taxed. This is why I love it. So we're going to use HSA money to pay the premium for the continuation of benefits rider. So here we've got the same couple, but this time they work for a large corporation that offers the HSA account. Okay, so we look at the same limits. The wife's maximum is $1,790 that she can deduct, right? And the husband was $4,770. Total combined that they can take out of their HSA account to use towards premium is $6,560. So now let's look at this. They were going to retire in 10 years. That's their goal. They wanted to retire in 10 years. So I said, how about we do a 10 pay option on the COB rider? So that means in 10 years, their policy is completely paid up. So their initial premium that they're going to put into the base policy is $68,018. That's the single premium that they're going to put in initially. This is going to give them $5,000 a month in benefit. Then their annual premium for 10 years would be $6,118. It is under that $6,560 maximum that the IRS has deemed. So the full $6,118 can be taken out of their HSA account to pay for this. So now it became a triple tax benefit for them using HSA. Why do I say triple tax? Money goes into the HSA pre-tax. Money comes out of the HSA to fund the premium for this, tax-free. When they go on claim, this $5,000 a month in benefit that's paying out to each of them for their lifetime, tax-free benefits. All triple tax benefit, all three options, they never paid taxes on this. I'm sorry, the wealthy clients, they get wealthier because they figure out ways to not have to pay a big chunk of tax, right?
I really hope everybody here understood that. If you didn't get that, please ask. But Jen just gave you the game right there. Sorry, Jen.
No, thank you, Yanko. Yes, I'm giving you guys all the hints here, how to bring up the conversation to your clients. That's why I'm kind of going through it pretty fast, but I'm going through it fast because of what your clients, what's going to like trigger their interest, right? Because we can remember that sexy scale I mentioned earlier. Long-term care is on the farthest end of the unsexy scale. But guess where tax conversation goes? Tax conversations on the the really sexy end of the scale. So how can we make long-term care conversation a little more sexy? We bring up tax deductions, right? All right, so here's another example. Let's say the same client comes to you and says, I don't want to pay an ongoing premium. Yanko, you have another comment or question?
No, I was just clapping.
Oh, so same couple, they tell you, hey, I don't want to pay an annual premium. I want to be one and done. Like I'm at that point in my life where I want things super simple and I don't want another bill to worry about. We got you. We could do a single premium paying both the base policy and the COB rider. So here, same couple now puts in $150,000 and we take that $150,000, split it up between the base policy premium here. So $88,000 of that $150 generates that life insurance death benefit of $216,000. And then the remaining $61,000 of that $150,000 pays up that continuation of benefits rider. Okay, so accelerating that death benefit at 3%, that's how we were able to calculate that. We're paying out a maximum benefit of $6,500 per person. So let's talk about the unicorn. The C corporation is the unicorn. We don't see a lot of C corporations out there, but when we do, oh my goodness, the tax benefit that they're going to get. So same couple, but this time they own a very successful construction company. So far this year seems to be estimated to be the best year so far for them in business.
Oops,
and
sorry, Jen. Elaine has a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, go ahead, Elaine.
Okay, just a quick question. You said that the other 61,000 pays up the COB. My question is, when you say paid up, we're talking about forever?
Yeah, one and done. Don't ever have to pay another premium again.
Okay, that's really sexy. Okay, all right, thank you.
It is sexy. I love it. So their company, this construction company that Bill and Sue have, happens to be a C corporation. So that's how this business incorporated. They've done a great job building up their savings account and building up their wealth. So let me give you a disclaimer here. Why C corporations are the unicorn. All long-term care insurance premiums paid by the employer are deductible by the employer, and the deduction is not limited by the age-related caps. So if you remember the little grids I've shown you so far with the S corporation, with the HSA, depending on their age, there was a maximum amount that the IRS would allow for them to deduct. Well, with C corporations, you don't have those age-related limits. So in other words, the long-term care insurance premium may be treated as a business expense for medical insurance premiums. So it looks like how we're going to deduct it looks just like how we treat medical insurance premiums. So let's tie in some numbers so it can make some sense here. So they're going to put in $150,000. That generates that $6,500 a month in benefit. Out of that 150, if you remember, Elaine, 88,000 went to the base, but the 61,000 paid up the continuation of benefits rider, which both sides combined equals 150,000. So COB rider is the only portion, the only premium that is eligible to be deducted on their taxes. So the full 61,000, because there's no age limit requirements with C corporation, the full 61,000 can be deducted on their taxes the first year. So this is a paid up policy for them. Their C corporation gets to deduct the full 61,000 right off on their taxes. You can't beat that. Now, like I said, C corporations are unicorns. You don't see a lot of them, but if you do, you need to show them this. To write off 61,000 off of and deduct that off of their C corporation's taxes is a huge deal for them. That's a lot of savings for them.
And the benefit, when it's paid out, it still remains tax-free.
All tax-free, absolutely. Make sense so far? All right. Here's my last example. Asset Care 4 or recurring premiums for all the other states outside of California. So this is just recurring premium. This is not single premium like I was showing you earlier where the life insurance you were paying a single premium up front. This is for your high income earners or the upper kind of middle class customers that can afford paying out of pocket. They may not necessarily have the asset to reposition to pay up the life insurance policy up front. So here's what we're going to do. Here's a 53 and a 51-year-old couple. This couple is still within their working years, and I want to target this age group. This is such an important age group. I would say probably from 40 to 60, right in that age range, ages 40 to 60 or age 40 to 55. This age group falls into what they are calling right now the sandwich generation. So if you guys haven't heard that term before, it's a thing. It's called the sandwich generation. What is the sandwich generation? The sandwich generation is that age group that is caring for their children, right? They're still taking care of their children, but they're also taking care of their aging parent. They're getting sandwiched between these two groups, these two different generations, and they're kind of caught in the middle. So this age group is a good representation as to what they're experiencing right now. So 53, 51-year-old, and they have shared with me, Jen, I need to get a long-term care plan, but I want a maximum monthly benefit of $5,000 a month. How much is that going to cost me? So we run the numbers. So in order to generate the $5,000 a month per person in lifetime benefit, the annual premium is $5,094 a year for them. So that $5,094 is going to immediately give them a death benefit of $166,667 because we carved out $3,176 of that $5,094 premium to pay for that life insurance policy. Then the $1,917 of that $5,094 premium pays for that lifetime rider. Okay, so let's look at the HSA again, because they are working for a company. Based on their age, based on their age, here's that grid again. The COB rider we know is $1,917. They're 51 years old and what did I say? Can't remember now. 51 and 53, 51, 53. So 51, 53. So 51 and 53 happens to fall under the same maximum deduction amount of $1,790 per person. So that's a maximum amount that they can deduct of $3,580. That's the maximum amount that can come out of their HSA account. Since their COB rider is only $1,917, it's under that maximum amount. So that full $1,917 can come right out of their HSA account to pay for their premium. Make sense? So even with the tax deduction examples that I showed you, we can utilize the annual premium, the recurring premium funding option as another means for them to still obtain a long-term care plan and get the tax benefit. Any questions so far? I know I went through a lot, but there was a reason for my madness.
No questions, guys? All right.
Well, here's my contact information. And then Yemi is my internal wholesaler. He supports me with all illustrations and case designs, anything like that that you need. If you want brochures, for example, reach out to him. If you want to do some joint or co-branded marketing with your agency and One America with pieces to present to your clients, or if you're looking for content to send out to your clients, to your distribution list, reach out to Yemi or myself. We'll be able to provide that for you. So I wanted to make sure you had our phone number and our email address. And that is my cell phone number, the 619 area code. You can text me as well if that's convenient. And Yemi is actually, he's in San Marcos, California. So he's on Pacific time zone as well, for those of you that are in Pacific time zone. So again, reach out to us with any questions you need. I don't want you guys to be the expert at how to design a long-term care plan for your clients. Gather the information and give it to us. And I gave you some sales ideas of what type of information to gather, right? Do they have an S corporation? Do they have an HSA account? Do they have a premium amount in their mind or a benefit amount in their mind? Then bring that back to us and we will help put together an illustration and a design plan for you. All right, Yanko, that's the end of my presentation. I thank you guys so much for being on.
Thank you, Jen. We appreciate it. I mean, definitely you give us a much different perspective this time around. So guys, let me know you have any questions. You have Jen's information. This is recorded. I'll post it on the team channel in a little bit. And yeah, I mean, let me know if I can help, and Jen will help us design the case. So let's stay 5 more minutes for the team, and for you, Jen, yeah, we're done. So thank you for your time.
I know there's some questions in the chat. I just want to make sure that we went through it all.
Okay.
And if I missed any questions, take yourself off of mute.
One question was, is it too late to get people a Washington plan? Is it too late?
To be exempt from the tax, yes, because it had to be in place before November 1st of 2021.
Okay, but can they be exempted into the future after a couple of years, or no, it's done? Okay.
Done. Mhm.
All right.
That's the difference with Washington. California is saying we don't want to do that. We want to still encourage people to get their own long-term care plan, so we'll just reduce the tax.
Okay, I guess my follow-up question will that is, since pretty much you're going to get taxed whether you have it or not, did we see reductions in sales of products in Washington, or because we pulled out, you don't know?
So it's gone back to the run rate prior to the bill being enacted.
Back to normal kind of a thing.
Yeah. So we were probably, I'm like guesstimating here. We were probably seeing about maybe 7 applications at most a month out of Washington, right? Before the bill being passed. Now we're almost back to that normal run rate, between like 5 to 7 applications a month coming out of Washington.
Makes sense. All right. Well, it seems like nobody has questions. So Jen, thank you again for your time, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
All right. Have a good day, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you.